What is up, guys? It's Alex here, back for another video. And before I get into this video, a couple of things I wanted to mention. So I'm pretty excited that yesterday we have finally passed 400 rating in the Horn of the Abyss online lobby. First time ever that we've been that high. So if you guys want to tune in and watch me climb the ranks and play actual PvP and apply the strategies that I kind of lay out in these videos in an actual like PvP online game scenario, you're welcome to tune into my Twitch. I'll have the link in the stream description below. Currently, I stream Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, starting around 10 a.m. Ukrainian time or Eastern European time. And also, I believe yesterday we have passed 500 subscribers on YouTube, so that's pretty cool as well. Just halfway to being able to get that partner status. And once we reach 1,000 subscribers, I will be doing another giveaway as well. So just be on the lookout for that too. Okay, so in this video, what I want to do is I want to do an overview of Fortress. Basically, the same way that I've done my other overviews. So I'm not going to be doing a demonstration. I will do that at a later video. So this is going to be kind of a quick video where I essentially just describe the strengths and weaknesses of Fortress, as well as, kind of lay out the some basic strategies for playing Fortress. Okay, so when it comes to Fortress, Fortress is a pretty good town. I do have it at mid-tier in my tier list, and I think most people have it somewhere around the middle of the mid-tier. It does have some strengths. So, first of all, the creatures that you get in Fortress are pretty good. You have the Wyvern Nest, which is great because that synergizes with the Dragonfly Hives. So if you can take a few Dragonfly Hives and actually also build Wyvern in your town, that usually, is pretty good. And especially if you have some Wyvern dwellings on the map as well, that helps you even more because with each additional Wyvern dwelling that you take on the map, that means your town is going to produce additional Wyvern. And obviously you can also upgrade them to Wyvern Monarchs, right, which is no other town can do that. So and Wyvern Monarchs are a lot faster than regular Wyvern, and they have that poison ability. So that's kind of your mainstay as Fortress, is going for a Wyvern, and in a lot of cases going for Wyvern Monarchs. And also not to mention that they get an additional speed bonus on swamp terrain. So the other advantage is that you start, well, as far as units go, your Serpent Flies or Dragonflies are really fast. They're speed 13, so that usually means that you will get to outspeed your opponent and get the first move, unless they have like Angels with a speed artifact or Firebirds, right? So usually Serpent Flies with speed 13 are going to be the fastest unit. And also they have that ability to take off buffs and weaken the opponent creatures. So Serpent Flies are pretty good for that reason. They're pretty good as one stacks. You also have Gorgons. The Mighty Gorgons are pretty friggin' nasty because of their Death Stare ability, and also they're really tanky. So the Gorgons have 70 HP, which is the same as Wyvern, right? So yeah. They're really tanky, and with that Death Stare ability, the Mighty Gorgons can be quite useful, especially if you're fighting something, some really high tier units. They can take a few of them out just with that Death Stare ability. And the other thing is that Hydras are, they're not the best tier 7 unit. However, they're relatively easy to build. They don't cost that much, and they only need the Serpentfly Hive, Basilisk Pit, and Wyvern Nest. So technically, you could build them on turn 4 if you went straight for the Hydropon build path, and they only cost 10k gold and 10 sulfur, and they have the no retaliation ability. They are pretty slow, but the no retaliation ability is pretty nice. So yeah, and especially if you get a couple of Hydra dwellings on the map, like here we do have those, they can be a pretty viable strategy. It can be viable to go for Hydras. I've actually gone for Hydras and Chaos Hydras in quite a few of my Fortress games, so that is something that you can usually do. And, the Hydras are going to be pretty good at taking Utopias as well because of that no retaliation and the multi-directional attack. And so the other thing that makes Fortress pretty good is starting with Drakon. So Drakon starts with 3 stacks of nulls, and with your starting army, you can take a size 3 hive on day 1, provided you don't lose too much fighting the guard of the actual hive. So it's one of the few towns that can do that. It's only Necro and Dungeon and Fortress that can do that comfortably. Tower as well if you start as Josephine, but most people don't really start as Josephine. But and the other good thing about taking hives with Fortress is that you don't get the terrain penalty with the Wyvern, moving them through the swamp, right? And the last thing that is really good about Fortress are the heroes. So you have Tazar, who's an armor specialist, who's really good at a high enough level. He's a hero that scales really well. If you get like Earth Magic and like offense on him and things like that, he's going to be really tough to beat at a later stage. He's going to be good at taking hives, good at taking utopias, and good at taking tough fights where you actually need to tank, like let's say fighting something like gold and black dragons and like phoenixes, something that you cannot really outspeed. Tazar would be really good for doing that. And in general, Beastmasters are pretty good because they will always have armor. Usually they'll have armor and they'll have high defense as they level up. They normally get high defense. So that means that they're going to be pretty tanky and they're going to be good at taking hives, which just works in favor of Fortress because you really want hives as Fortress. They'll be pretty good at taking utopias. And they'll be pretty good at doing fights, where you need to take hits, actually. So those are the advantages of Fortress. Now, as far as the disadvantages go, well, first of all, you can only go up to level 3 Mage Guild. So, that's certainly, you cannot go for those high-tier spells. So, in your native town, at least. So, that's certainly a disadvantage. And the other big disadvantage for Fortress, the biggest really, is the terrain, right? So swamp terrain gives you the highest terrain penalty. So if you're dragging non-native units through the swamp, each move, a straight move through the swamp, costs you 175 moves. Well, here it doesn't because I had a cheat enabled, but see here, if I have an Archangel, yeah, this cost me 175 instead of 100, which really means that you don't want to be dragging non-native units through the swamp if you can ever help it, because, really, you can only move, like, so let's say this is Manfred, right? If I go here, this is almost all of my moves used already, right? Which is not that great by any means. So, basically, what that means is that usually you're not really that excited about conces and pickets and experimental shops, especially if they're off-road, right? You can take them, like if a conce is like this next to the road, or you have pickets or experimental shops like that, then it's fine, right? But if you find them somewhere off-road, see in this map actually we have a bunch of conces and pickets close to the road, which is kind of what you want to see. But see, like this picket, for example, this is already kind of far. Like here, you will need like two heroes with full movement to bring the Cyclops back out. So like one hero will go about here, and another hero can bring that back. So you just need to keep that in mind if you ever do. Sometimes you have to do it. But you just have to keep in mind that if you have to off-road with non-native units, or if you have to bring them back from the dwelling, then you're just going to be facing that huge terrain penalty, right? So usually hives is what you want. Conces and pickets and experimental shops are, you can take them. Hives, or I mean, conses, you can take a size 1 cons on day 1 with your, if you upgrade Marauders and get an offense hero, somebody that actually has attack and not defense. And you can take pickets as well with Wyvern Monarchs and even regular Wyvern, because you'll have speed 8 with a regular Wyvern, and Monarchs will have speed 12 on Swamp, right? So that makes it pretty easy to take pickets. But again, you don't necessarily want to do that unless they're close to the road, or unless you have the pathfinding boots, or a hero with pathfinding, or the angel wings, right? Right, so as far as the strategy for playing Fortress goes, usually, as I've kind of already hinted, you want hives. Usually you want to go hives, 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 right? You want to start, like I said, early game, you can, day 1 or day 2, you can take a size 3 hive, provided you don't lose too much to the guard. And then you can just snowball with that. You can just snowball with the Wyvern, and just continue taking hives, and after that maybe you can take a cons or 2 or pickets or whatever else you have. But generally you want to farm as many hives as possible and get a stack of Wyvern that's as strong as possible, and likely get Monarchs, and then try to break on that and mass slow, for example, in most cases. And like I said, as far as conses, pickets, and experimental shops go, the conditions for farming those are usually they have to be either close to the road, or you have to have the pathfinding boots or the angel wings, or a hero with expert pathfinding so he doesn't get bonus. But even if you do, usually the pathfinding boots and the wings are better, because even if you have a hero with pathfinding, you're not going to have a lot of heroes with pathfinding, and you're still going to need to chain with other heroes, right? So the pathfinding boots or the wings, you can just transfer to your other heroes, which means that you'll be able to chain with no problem. Now, if you don't get a lot of hives, like I said, the other strategies for playing as Fortress would be, you could go for dwellings. You can go, if you get Hydra dwellings, you can go for a Hydra stack. You can even go for a stack of Wyvern. If you get a few Wyvern dwellings, you can go for Gorgon stacks. And really, because Fortress has pretty good and pretty tanky heroes, you can break without having too much army, as long as your break is not too difficult. Like, I remember I had a break, I think, of Wyvern, and there were like 70 Wyvern or something like that, and I was able to break them on just like 14 Wyvern Monarchs and like 16 Cyclopes, and I think I only lost like 2 Monarchs or something like that. So Fortress can make do without having quite as much. Actually, I was even able to break on 1-2-1 once with only Gnolls and Lizardmen. I think I got like something like 90 Lizardmen and like 300 Gnolls, and I was able to break a Wyvern Monarchs break on 1-2-1 doing that. So yeah, so Fortress is pretty good. Again, if you can deal with the terrain penalty, then Fortress is usually a pretty good town. Alright guys, well that's pretty much everything that I really wanted to mention as far as Fortress goes. It is pretty straightforward. Some people consider it boring because of that, because the strategy is quite straightforward. You're just really looking for hives and, trying to snowball those. Or, try to go for dwellings, but it is what it is, and like I said, I do like it. I do like Fortress as a town overall. The terrain penalty can be annoying to deal with, but usually you just deal with that by not taking non-native units off-road, and, if you do have non-native units, then just try to stay on the road. Okay, so I'm going to end the video there. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something. Be on the lookout for a demonstration of Fortress. I may do that in the next video. And again, if you guys want to see more Heroes 3 content, if you guys want to see me actually put this into practice, do check out my Twitch stream, and you're welcome to subscribe on YouTube here as well, so you get notified when I release new videos. Oh, and also I'll have a link to the Facebook page in the stream description below. And for the giveaways, be sure that you follow and like that page, because to be eligible for the giveaways that I'm going to do in the future, you need to follow and like the Facebook page. All right, guys. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.